afternoon. But I'd just like to welcome you all here tonight. My name is Cheryl Cook. I'm the chairperson of the Simsbury Community for Care. We are very pleased to be able to put on this program tonight, and we are especially pleased to have a speaker with us tonight, Kamora Herrington from True Colors. She's been very active in the LGBT community and advocacy groups all over, on a national level, and we're thrilled that she's here to share some of her insights with us. Also here tonight with us is Dr. Stuart Younce from Simsbury High School. He is the faculty coordinator for the Simsbury High School Alliance Group, and he is also available to participate and take questions from anybody in the audience. And I know both of our speakers would be happy to entertain your questions. So feel free to ask away, start the discussion. That's why we're here. And with that, I will turn it over.
So hello, welcome. Glad everyone came here. I'm Kamora Herrington. I've been working in an official capacity with queer youth for the last 12 years of my life. I've been a queer human for the last 46 years of my life, and I can tell you that very often those two things do not line up completely because we've got this age barrier going on right now. Hopefully we will be able to get up in here and use some videos because we want to laugh. And while we're here in Simsbury, I want to do really nothing other than celebrate and laugh and have a good time. When I raised my son, my oldest son is 28 years old. My youngest son is 5 years old because God's got jokes. Hello. And my oldest is a musician. And now he's a touring musician doing all kinds of great things. But we grew up in West Hartford, and he went to Hall High. And what I know you guys as is that Battle of the Bands. So has anyone here been at the high school for about a decade or so? I'm going to go way, way back. Does everyone remember Richard Saunders? Yes. Amazing. Thank you. Because Richard, in this room we can talk about Richard. Very often I talk about Richard as a euphemism when I do these trainings. You know the person I'm talking about. He's kind of awesome. He's kind of amazing. But the year that he pulled together that ridiculous Battle of the Bands show, my son was in it. And we were blown away and ridiculously impressed. And it was one of these where their arts program is amazing. Has anyone here ever read the book, When the Drama Club Isn't Enough? It was published back in 1997 by by GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network at that time. And it was a book where they really were just highlighting how they were putting together the very first GSAs and what the first and second and third GSA in this actual country looked like, what formation looked like. And When the Drama Club Isn't Enough was the funny ha-ha title because before we actually had real GSAs, we had drama clubs. And the queer kids hid in the drama club. And so queer Kamora hid in the drama club, gave birth to this musician. My son is heterosexual, that just kind of happens. But as a musician, who do you think his friend group was? So I am firmly entrenched in this belief that the arts keeps our kids alive. So math class, they might be mean to us there, but if I've got chorus, I can go sing heartily and with gusto and share my truth. Science class might be awful, but I can get into acting class and I can jump into someone else's truth and walk through that for an hour or two and feel that. And you guys celebrate that, so whether you know this or not, you guys are already, just in the way that your schools are set up and the way that your town is set up, you are already creating spaces where young queer people can thrive and not look at deficits and not spend their time dwelling in deficits. So right there, thank you, I want to celebrate you. So thank you. How do you all feel as a town? So who in here is working in the school system? Okay. Quickly, just talk to your neighbors. As a town you're dealing with your queer, your LGBT, your trans, how do you feel like you're dealing with those students? Quick conversation, we'll come back. Okay, so I was just kind of to get the room going. So what are you guys doing? How do you feel about what's happening here right now? Cautious. Yeah. Part of why I wanted to start this conversation, just to celebrate, is because your parents care a lot. And your parents call the True Colors office. Simsbury parents, we laugh when you call. Because you call and you're worried and you're concerned. And my child came out, I went to a PFLAG meeting, I found this website, I bought this book, and this book, my family is going to this place, this summer we've got a house in Toronto and we're going to go to Pizza, we're doing all this, and can you please give me some advice and tell me what to do? What is the number one protective factor for queer youth? The number one protective, I've got risk factors behind me, but what's the number one protective factor?
Family support.
Family support, period, the end. That's where we are. So right there, I can tell you, I'm not going to say it's never happens, but I can tell you that since September, I have not gotten a single phone call from a parent in Simsbury who's not supporting their child. I haven't gotten a single phone call about a family in Simsbury where the support isn't happening. So this is what I do for a living. I said this was going to be a conversation. This is where the conversation comes in. You've got an idea of what's happening. What are you doing that creates a space where parents are free to love their children? There's something that's happening in this town. I can tell you that your arts program, I see it there, I get that. Outside of that, what are you doing that creates a space where other parents, where your peers, where the parents of your students are able to support their children, because it's happening in this town?
Well, the church, I mean, you were talking about the PFLAG group and the open and affirming, and I think that's a critical point.
Beautiful. Nice. And you say that's starting up next month?
Next Monday.
Next Monday. What was the work? Why did you decide that Simsbury needed their own PFLAG here?
Well, it has been a goal for the last 5 or 6 years. We've been an open and affirming church for 5 years, and this was on our radar just to include the community more than our church members. Mm-hmm. And as a group of parents, we recognize that other parents need support and youth in our town. And we didn't know how much the schools were offering, so we wanted to have our own chapter for that.
Beautiful. Great. What are some other things that you think are happening in this community?
I certainly, as a teacher, I know that the kids that come to the youth group feel very open and protected, especially at the First Church. I mean, they talk about it openly. It's a very positive. They love the people that they work with, and they're all supportive of each other. It's really, that's deep. And it's happening in other churches too, but that's one that comes up quite a bit.
Does the Simsbury school system go to True Colors Conference?
We do. Yeah, I started taking kids a couple of years ago.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's small, but
Excellent, though.
Yeah. And then you bring the information back, and your GSA comes to our Friday night activities all the time. Sometimes they come together as a group, sometimes it's one or two at a time. But as I said that we were going to celebrate you guys, and I was sitting up talking about you today, where are you? There you are. So, I can tell you that I know Simsbury always sends a group to the True Colors Conference. I can tell you that on our Friday nights, probably once a month, we have a couple kids from Simsbury coming in. Very often a whole pack will come in. You guys have a very active GSA with kids who do things outside of the GSA together, which is incredibly important. But when I contacted Hartford Stage, because again, I believe firmly in the arts, and I believe completely that the arts supports queer youth and creates empathy in the rest of us so that we can all be there for someone who's a little bit different than us. I gave Scott a call over at Education and said, hey Scott, I know Simsbury takes part in classes. Can you give me an idea of what Simsbury does? You guys do way more than most of the other towns do. So there's a commitment to growing a whole human being in this town. And I think that when we start thinking about our queer youth, one of the things that you do as a town is you make sure to cover the needs of all people emotionally. So the way to take care of queer youth is to make sure that everyone's needs are met. The way to take care of queer youth is to make sure that there's space for everyone, that you have enough enrichment and outside activities so that everyone can figure out a way to fit in. Now, I know the arts. This is what I know. Again, talking to Scott, finding out that you guys take part in basically all of the education programs that Hartford Stage offers, you guys have figured out how to get some students or some faculty in there. Outside of the arts, what does your town look like? What do your sports teams look like? Does your town have regular sports teams, or are they all just school-based?
No, we have outside sports leagues at all age levels.
Awesome.
and very successful too, I would say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Number of kids participate. High participation rate.
Very high. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the school and in the town, I would say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And I
so
would say for our kids now, it's the acceptance level is so much different. I mean, I know with my kids, 18, 24, 26, they wouldn't even blink or turn their head. If a friend comes to them and says, there's me here, meet my girlfriend. Great, let's go.
Just is.
It's not something that's so out of the ordinary that would cause them pause.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens.
Is there a hand over here?
I know that our pastor has also met with the scout groups that meet in our church, and working with them, and this was prior to their vote to be more inclusive. And now that's become a very open group as well.
Okay.
So I know we're working on that too.
So scouting, and we do know that scouting, depending on where you are in this country, has a much different, different idea. So scouting is open, and there's a commitment in this town to make sure that there's space for everyone there. Sports, there's a commitment in this town to make sure there's space for everyone, and definitely the arts, definitely the arts. So right now, what you guys are going to do, and we're separated into anyway, at this room, come together and having this conversation based on what you know about your town, way more than what I know, and the little bit of conversation that we had. What are your values around children? Right here, based on what you know about this town, and then right here, we need 2 or 3 to come back and bring us to a larger conversation. But as a town, stepping back as a member of this town, what do you feel you come together on? What are 3 shared values that your town shares around children? You've got them. I can tell you that your town looks a lot different than Glastonbury. I can tell you that your town looks a lot different than Union. There are values here that are clearly being shared.
I think we're supported.
Okay, there's a whole lot of great conversation, and I'm sorry that I came in and shut it down. The hard part for me is I'm eavesdropping on great conversations, and it's time to pull it back in. So, values. What are values that we see being shared in this community? As I say, both sides, education. And how do you see that? We know that the schools, that there's a lot of parental involvement. It sounds like parents are very, very involved in what their kids are doing, making sure that their kids are doing stuff on the outside.
Variety of programs.
There's a huge variety.
Variety of programs, from cooking to engineering to great musical department and all different stuff.
To the football team. Yeah.
Yeah, all different things.
To band, to...
Well, and our technology area and our business area, very strong.
Oh, yeah.
Architecture,
And I've done a few different workshops here. I've actually come, I like your library, I've come here a couple times on my own. And this place is always packed. There are always people here. So the commitment and the value isn't so much just formal education, but I've been in here when people have been talking about a lot of different things. And there are community members who just show up. And I've been here, I think the last time there was an LGBT trivia night in here, which was a whole lot of fun. And there are people who happen to be here who are not queer themselves, who are just in the library, but there's this interesting thing happening, and it was trivia, and they wanted to come in and join, and felt safe and comfortable enough to come in and join. And there's an understanding, oh yes, come on, there's something cool happening at the library. So not just in value, you don't just value education, but you value learning, and you value the process of exchanging ideas, which is incredibly important. So we've got all that great stuff. What is some other stuff that people are saying?
One thing that I see in the high school, and I think it's very special, our district is very strong with special needs kids. And
I wanted to say that too.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean, that's
our
one of our
inclusion
strengths.
started
And-
this acceptance of everybody.
And the kids are, when there are issues with kids, they're never with a special needs kid. They adore the kids, and they help them, and they work with them, and they've learned empathy from that.
Is there a buddy program in this town?
There's buddy programs. I mean, you name it. We have all
Unified
kinds of
theater,
There's unified everything.
sports.
unified. We have unified lunch. But I think that inclusiveness and that empathy. We obviously have issues around other areas, but that is one. It's single. I've never seen it like this.
I was saying, and you know that we go to other towns and we hear, well, we can't do inclusion because. Well, we can't because. So to hear the whole, and then there's that fun, self-depreciating piece of, we unified everything. You guys have no clue. Everything. We've got space for everyone everywhere. And that. Yep, this is what we do. This is a value of our town. Of course we do. As opposed to, you've got to be kidding. There's absolutely no way we can create inclusion in here. So other is very, very important in this town. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I see that as the social worker, just inclusiveness across the board in town, where it's not just the schools that are trying to help the students, that it's the town social services, it's the youth services bureau, it's inclusion in the senior center. We've got we're a member of the movable senior center. So it's just we are involved everywhere in making everyone feel safe and included, and all different aspects of the town are involved with the students. So I think I see that as a really great input to why it's successful here too. That it's not just happening at the schools.
It's also not just happening by the movable LGBT center. It's not just happening at the youth level. It's happening
At the senior
level.
Yeah.
So like it extends all the way from like all the age groups that you can encompass, from high school on or whatever on up to retirees.
That is awesome. I'm going to encourage all of you to spend some time when you go home tonight, step back and think about what created this. How did you get here? Why is this important? Why is there this major commitment in this town to support your citizens? Now, while you guys are talking, and I was like, we'll talk about it later, keep your P flag small. One thing that we do far too often is we try to create space for all when there isn't really space for all. And that we've got a few statewide GSAs, and those are wonderful. We've got a few statewide P flags. The Hartford P flag is wonderful. If you have a family, if you're dealing with any kind of a trans person who's coming out, someone who's got some gender stuff, please get to Hartford, then get back to your own. But Hartford is this wonderful, beautiful incubator for trans folks. But
And
there's
the head of that is a Simsbury, was taught at Simsbury High School.
Are you serious?
Yes.
See? Y'all are just so cool. If only your houses were like, $200,000 cheaper. But whatever. But no, again, as we started talking, I hope I am not at all trying to create little ghettos all over the place. But you have a town that has shared values around creating space for all types of difference in your town. Keep your P flag for your town and for people who share your values. Those are beautiful values, and those are the values that your families are working in. And the truth is, there are many towns that are kind of like those, what do you call them, bedroom communities. So everyone, we go to wherever it is that work and we come back. So really what we share with people is property. That's about it. This is a town where you interact with each other, where there's a commitment to seniors, where those buddy programs are everywhere, where you all feel responsibility towards each other. As you create your P flag, as that group solidifies, become a leader in the state. Become a group that the rest of us can look at and come talk to you and find out about you, because I'm looking forward to sending people here. I'm very, very happy to be here. But again, you're a town, you've had some issues in the past. You know you've had issues in the past. You've definitely had issues in the past. And you guys care a lot, and you navel gaze, and you build, and you navel gaze, and you build, and then you move past. And that problem isn't going to happen again, but more problems will pop up. Be a town, be a community, support your youth. This is wonderful. So we've done all the wonderful celebration stuff, and we've talked about what you guys already know. Now is time to kind of mess up your heads, and hopefully we can talk about some stuff you don't know. Okay. Has everyone here ever played Simon Says? Great. Stand up, give yourself a little bit of space.
Simon Says?
Well, Kamora says, because I'm Kamora and I like being in charge. But there's no direction here. Here we go. Okay. Very, very quickly, Simon Says, touch your orientation. Where's the orientation, people? Come on. It's got a place. It belongs somewhere. It's not happening. Okay. Simon Says, touch your sex. Touch your sex, people. Where's your sex? Where's it at? Oh, man. Thought you guys valued education in here. Okay. Simon Says, touch your gender. Ain't gonna happen? Okay. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Right? So this is the puritanical code. Right. But I love this. So we're talking today in some ways about the LGBT community. That sounds great. I'm not sure it's an actual community. Your L's are your lesbians. Hello, nice to meet you all. G, gay folks, that's an umbrella term, really are men. Bisexuals, we used to pretend that they didn't really exist. Now we understand. Hey, y'all exist. It's a great thing. Bisexuals exist. And then transgender folks. And that's the whole gender umbrella. And we have orientation, which is who I'm attracted to. So as a lesbian, I'm attracted to women. And then we have gender. And gender is what comes in where we end up getting the two conflated far too often. So very quickly, let me give this to you, because we're going to play again, and we're going to see if you guys can learn, because you guys seem to value this education thing, right? Okay. So my sex is what I've got. That's what I'm born with. That is here. Is anyone in here a doctor or a nurse? You're the only one who might ever possibly need to know something about sex. But when it comes to us as teachers and friends with human beings, until it's time to start doing some extra stuff because we've taken our relationship to the next place, it is never my business what your sex is, never at all. It's just what's happening. That's physically what's happening down here. My orientation is who I'm attracted to. And my orientation lives here. I can't do anything about it. It's just kind of here. Close your eyes. Think about your first crush. Think about the next crush. Think about the person you're crushing on right now. If all three of those people have shared a gender, you probably haven't had to do too daggone much internal work about who you are and what that looks like. If that person's gender has changed over time, I'm looking at you because you threw yourself out there, then you might need to put a little bit more time into the thought about what that is. And then my gender lives here. This is who I know myself to be. So very quickly, does anyone in here just want to stand up and say, I claim myself as a woman, that's who I am? I'm a woman, so I'm just going to look for a bison. But you're a woman? Awesome. I'm sorry, what was your first name again?
Kristen.
Kristen? Okay, Kristen, what can we tell you that will make you understand that you're not really a woman, you're really a man?
Nothing.
Nothing? Does anyone want to try? Does anyone think that they've got the magic bullet on words? Is there anything we can do to help this man in the back of the room realize that he's actually a man, he's not a woman? Okay, so this is the fun one. And honestly, when it comes down to gender, I love explaining it like this and leaving it here. I've got a whole lot more information that I can give you. But gender is who I know myself to be, period. Period. Very often on the gender one, we like to spend a whole lot of time trying to figure it out and dissect it, and maybe even there's got to be a test or some kind of a blood, something I can do. It's who I know myself to be. Think about yourself as a woman right now, women in the room. Think about yourself as a man right now, men in the room. How do you know you're a man? How do you know you're a woman? If your answer is deeper than I just know, then you've done a whole lot of navel gazing. That's awesome. But most of us just know. So I want to bring in the idea of privilege very, very quickly. Those of us who are cishet, and in this room I'm looking at a whole lot of folks who appear to be white, there is privilege that we talk about there, but there's also ignorance there. So I'm born with a vagina. I'm a woman. I have not had to put a lot of thought into who I am as a woman and what it means to be a woman. This just kind of is. If I was born with a penis and I knew myself to be a woman, then I would have to deal with a whole bunch of people telling me that who I am is not true. And that would affect me in a whole lot of awful ways, but it also creates and sets the stage for me to spend more time being reflective and thinking about myself and thinking about who I am as a human being. There's a few different workshops that we do around identity. One of them is, anyone ever done, there's an ADL workshop called Circles of Myself, and you put your name in the middle circle and then you put different identities. I love doing that workshop. Whenever I do that with a group of trans youth or gender variant youth, I've actually got a diamond which has 48 different facets. That's what I use with those youth. When I give my trans babies those 5 circles, they're done within 2 seconds, and then they're making more boxes for themselves, because guess what? I am an empathetic person. I'm a caring person. I'm a fierce warrior. I am this, I am that, I am that. That human being has put a lot more thought into who they are than many of the rest of us. So as we start thinking about what privilege looks like, and as we start thinking about these poor trans babies, these poor queer babies, what is their reality like? They are very often much more self-aware than we are. And we get to be on this journey with them. We don't get to lead them on this journey. We just kind of get to be on this journey with them. How does that land and sit for folks? Does that kind of line up with where you are? Awesome. Stand up. Okay. Kamora says, put your hands close to in the general vicinity of your sex. Got it. Physical, can't change, close enough. It's right there. Simon says, put your hands on your orientation. That is who I am attracted to. This is who I want to spend time with. This is who, when I'm sitting at the coffee shop thinking about who could be sitting here having this cup of coffee with me, that's what's happening here. This is what's happening here. I will tell you, we live in a world that works very, very hard to be sex positive. I'm Kamora. I'm not the most sex positive person in the world. What people's bodies do with each other is kind of awesome, but I care a whole lot more about how we feel about each other. So when I work with my queer babies, I'm so happy that there are people here who can teach them how to do the things that their bodies do. But what does it feel like when you meet that person? Tell me how he breathes. That's kind of awesome. Tell me what she smells like. That's beautiful. Yes, I really do want to read these 18 poems about her hair right now. Here. As we think about caring for our queer kids, there's that beautiful place where, how do I keep this kid safe? You keep them safe by caring for their emotions. Sit down right now. We will get to the other part. Sit down now. Thank you so much. And this I think is one of the most important things. When we think about risk factors in our queer youth, we definitely think about what leads to suicide, etc. We also think about mental health issues. Very often we end up caught up on STDs. However, if I love myself, and if I know that other people love me, I can step into relationships with my mom, my father, my sister, my brother, the human beings in my life, and talk about the relationships that I'm stepping into or thinking about stepping into. When we look at a whole lot of those horrible, awful things that used to happen to queer kids, a lot of it was because they were so ridiculously isolated. I can tell you that maybe 10 years ago, and I haven't seen this so much anymore, but when I first started doing this work, there was a place of celebrating gay kids in a way that was unhealthy. And so we have 2 boys who are out in the high school, and these 2 boys date. And they should not be dating. They are not supporting each other. They are not helping each other. Actually, they're tearing each other down and hurting each other. But we want to make it so clear to them that we're supportive of queer folks, that you guys look great together, and we are celebrating your relationship and not talking about what we see, and not talking about what that feels like, and not creating a space for people to really think about what emotions feel like and what it feels like to be in a relationship that's supported by your community, or what it feels like to be in a relationship that's not supported by your community. How does that fall in people's ears? Sounds good? Awesome. Going back, small conversations again, very, very quickly. Who here is working with the GSA? You work directly with the GSA. Actually, let's not step into groups because everyone's here. But what is the GSA working on this year?
Well, first of all, we changed our name. Instead of gay, it's always been the Gay Straight Alliance. We're now the Gender Sexuality Alliance.
How did you do that? Did you do that?
Wanted to do
Okay.
it, and they wanted to. And listen, it is. I have learned so much about.
I got a slide.
And they give presentations on this. I mean, the permutations of different gender versus sexuality. They're really pretty wonderful, and I think they see this whole world as very fluid, and they wanted to see alliances of people who have very specific feelings and needs, and that's why they changed it. Mm-hmm. I will say, and this concerns me, that to date we have almost no men. The guys are scared to death to come to the GSA.
Really?
And I'm the leader, so but we have trans kids, and we certainly have women, but we've had very little men.
Are they out in school but not joining GSA? Or?
I mean, the performing arts program is it's a safe place for them, and they often drift to my room, which is the GSA. I mean, it's the theater room, but it's also the GSA room, which is safe. But they will not.
This is stereotypical.
They just
guys
don't
gotta
want
be
to.
tough.
Yeah.
And I think they still feel that, and that concerns me because I see in some kids what I dealt with in 1978. They're still going through some of that same stuff, and I will say too that in some cases parents are not supportive, and and they're scared to death. Even if parents are supportive, they're scared to death to say it.
I have seen some of those older kids, from in my kids' class coming out of Simsbury High School who don't come out until they're in college.
Yeah,
Because then they're away from that high school atmosphere.
That's an issue.
And I think that's difficult.
I think part of the thing is that there's not really a lot of. I mean, there are young families in the community and stuff, but I went to Simsbury High School 10 years ago. I actually left because I was bullied so severely, and I went to Wilkinson. So I went that way, rather than Knoxville. But it's great to hear that there is such a community because there wasn't when I was there 10 years ago. But I think that knowing from people of my generation, I know 5 LGBT kids in my year or a year below who have died from heroin overdoses over the past few years, and there were 2 kids in middle school who killed themselves. And so I think that a lot of the kids, including a boy man who died last month, don't see themselves in the young, the adults of this town, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And that's part of the reason that I stepped into the GSA. Because I do have some street cred because I'm the drama teacher. They like me, they like what we do, and I thought, I've been married to my husband for 31 years. I feel like I'm a good role model, and so I was willing to go there, and I think that's helped. Mm-hmm. But we're very open. We've had one of our students went in front of the faculty and talked, and said, this is how I feel when someone calls me a name in a class and you don't do anything about it. You don't say anything. And he was very effective. I mean, the teachers, and we've had some issues of non-inclusion, and so we've started a diversity committee there's a group of faculty that are working on that. Just trying to bring it to our attention. And it's not so much diversity, because diversity is whoever we are, right? It's inclusion, finding a way to let people be there. But again, there is an unspoken thing in Simsbury that there underneath there's some ugly moments that don't necessarily, you would never see someone coming into the hallway calling someone a faggot, but they may think it. And they may make it very clear that you're not accepted. So that's we try our best, I think. And I will say, right after the student stood up and talked to the faculty, I stood up afterwards and I said, we have the safe space stickers from Glisten, and I said, if you would like one, just shoot me an email. 95 teachers got a safe space sticker to stick on their door. That was pretty neat.
That's a start.
That's a step.
That's a big step.
But it's still not. It's still an issue.
It's still a huge issue. And actually, I'm just going to come back on this one right now. We're going to go somewhere else, but I want to stay here. So you appear to be male identified. Am I right there? When you're in school, did you feel that there is a difference between the lesbians and the gay men, or was it just?
Yeah, like a lot of the men that I knew were closeted or had come out in competition. I mean, like the kids who are in the arts programs were okay, but like there's a lot of still closeted people that I know of who like play sports. So there's a big divide there.
Okay.
And that's still a problem in our whole society. It's not just in Simsbury.
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, like having lived in other parts of the state, I think it is possibly unique to Simsbury in that we have such a huge sports thing, and that's like such a big part of the culture. And again, that's part of why I love Simsbury High.
It was the sports piece, or?
Yeah, and homecoming stuff.
Okay. Well, again, as I said.
Well, and it scares me too. And I think the other reason Andy was very supportive of the diversity is that the message we're getting from Washington right now is you don't matter, and we hope you die. It's kind of a 1965 message.
Yeah.
And that's why we haven't. I don't know. You can speak to this better than I, but I've not had a student say to me, "Well, the president can say it. Why can't I?" But it's only time. And if that's said, I think we've made it clear, and Andy made it very clear on the announcements when it was wonderful. We will not treat each other that way in this building. It will not happen. We will respect each and every one of us. It was a wonderful speech that you gave that day. And the kids listen.
Good.
We're trying.
Yeah. I want to jump very quickly into just a commercial for True Colors right now. Every fifth Friday is an intergenerational conversation, and our intergenerational conversations are seated this year on purpose for as many men who came out and who got to live lives as adult gay men before 1980 as possible. I'm not saying that today's climate is the same, but figuring out how to navigate yourself in a world that hates you is something that our kids have not had to navigate for the last 8 years. So those Fifth Fridays are really designed to give our young people the tools that they need that they have not been given for the last decade because we didn't think that they needed them anymore. But that's a whole new place, and you'll see that a whole lot of our space, those Fifth Fridays are all brave space now, and we work really hard at pushing outside of safe space to make brave space, because they're all the things that we're supposed to say, and they're the fears that we aren't supposed to have anymore. And if we are not if we aren't talking about those fears, then we are not prepared for what we're in right now. I can tell you that after the election, the anxiety of our queer youth just shot through the roof. I used to laugh. Yeah.
We sat in P-Flag meetings with adults who had equally as many concerns and feelings of being unsafe.
And they're valid. Unfortunately, they are valid concerns right about now.
More than just the LGBT community, I think many communities feel,
absolutely, exactly, right,
are worried.
Correct. Yeah. But this is our time. And know that Kamora, so honestly, if I were not doing a True Colors presentation right now, we would be discussing Germany 1938. Yeah. But Kamora's doing a True Colors presentation. I got that in as well as I could that way. But we are here right now holding on to our soul. We are here as a nation, holding on as fiercely as we can to our values and our beliefs. And you'll hear me, like, there's a reason why we talk so much about values, values, values. We need to remember what our values are as communities, because as outside forces are coming in and seeding our communities with other stuff, who are we? Where did we come from? I can tell you that there are PFLAG groups in the state, but there are definitely PFLAG groups throughout this country that are being attacked. And parents are joining in order to make the parents who are there feel very unsafe and very uncomfortable and throw doubt and question. There is, I'm sorry, I'm really not trying to go completely. I hit on it and now you took me there. But but there really is a concerted effort on the right to ruin us. And that involves them joining our groups and coming to our meetings and casting doubt on what we're doing. So honestly, that's a big piece of what I was talking about with your PFLAG. Make sure that it's truly your community, that you are solid in your foundation before you start allowing other folks to come in. That this really is where we are right now in this country, and this has happened in a few PFLAGs.
I guess I do feel hope, though, because I feel like our system has worked. I mean, you know, so far, nothing. I mean, all of the checks and balances have checked and balanced, and I think people, you know, are good people. I mean, Americans are good people, and we care about each other. And you know, when you watch TV, it's one thing, but when you meet people on the street and talk, and you know, people really care about each other. And I think we will survive this.
We will. It's going to be great. In 50 years, and again, I depend on the arts. So at True Colors right now, the City of Hartford Commission on Arts and Culture is meeting. And so I walked in and I was like, you guys are the artists. How are you going to keep us from fascism? We know this is what you guys are going to do. You guys are going to make some amazing art. It's going to be anti-fascist. Life is going to be beautiful. Life is going to be wonderful. But coming back, so thank you for sharing with us the whole and what's missed. So let's think right now. We're going to go off. We're going to be artists ourselves. Close our eyes. We're going to think about that queer gay boy who is as gay as the day is long, and he's hiding in football. His daddy is not going to be okay if he's out. His mom kind of has an inkling, but she keeps pushing him towards football and the cheerleaders, because if she can keep doing this, it's going to be okay. That kid is here in Simsbury. All of you feel for him. Take a second. Feel for this child. Okay. This side, this side. What are we going to do in our sports world to make sure that all of the little queer babies are just as celebrated and know that they can be a queer football player just as well as they can be a queer dancer? Go.
Let them dance.
There is video of Rosie Greer doing ballet. So if anyone remembers, Rosie Greer did ballet.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of video that could be shared somewhere. Okay, bring it on back. I've heard a whole bunch of all the good stuff that I need to hear. Let's see. I've heard policy. I've heard role models. I've heard training. I've heard parents, etc.
Well, and that's what kept me from saying.
Hear my voice clap once. Hear my voice clap twice. Hear my voice clap 3 times. No problem. This is what happens. And again, I let it go too long because I'm eavesdropping on both sides. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. That needs to keep going. Okay. So we need to stop. Oh, wait, this is what's happening over here. Oh, no, keep talking. No, this is a great time. We'll get to this one. But again, I heard training. And again, this is where I'm not practicing xenophobia here at all. But training is incredibly important. Talk to your graduates. Talk to your high school graduates. Talk to people in town. I come in, I've got a lot of great stuff to say. However, you can talk to each other way better than I can. You can talk to each other about when you're on Field Road doing this. I don't know where Field Road is. I'd be making it up. I can tell you about what I know about your town from the outside. I know a lot about your town from the outside. It is all from the outside. There's a way different impact when you have young people from your town talking to young people and speaking truths of power at the school board meetings. That makes a huge, huge difference. So training, very, very important. As you figure out how you're going to put that training together, call me, help you put it together, and then facilitate yourself. That's very, very important. I heard role models as well. That one is something that's really, really kind of interesting. So again, True Colors, we serve sexual minority youth and their families and those who care for them throughout the state of Connecticut. Our diversity is through the roof. We have a whole bunch of stuff going on. So when it comes to my self-defense classes, I sound kind of ridiculous. Right now, I've had a Puerto Rican female boxer do one. I've had a white trans man do one. I've had a white butch lesbian do one. And I've had a black cisgender heterosexual pastor, male-bodied, male-identified, do one. I need a Puerto Rican man. It'd be great if he were heterosexual. It'd be really cool if he was queer, but I need to have another one of those come up in there because I need to make sure that everyone's represented. Yeah. When we think about how we deal with this, it's really easy. Sports, oh boy, yeah, they're all heterosexual, that's who's over there. The arts, that's where all your babies are. They're all so sweet and beautiful over there. No, you've got a cross-representation going on all over the place. Again, I told you, one of the first stories I told you was about my son, 28 years old, self-avowed heterosexual still to this day, and has a huge friendship circle with a whole bunch of queer kids hanging out in there. His world is not segregated by orientation. His world is segregated by art. If you work at Travelers, he's probably not hanging out with you. If you work at tonight at Sully's, if you work at Sully's, you're probably hanging out together and doing all kinds of great stuff. So as we think about who role models are, think all over the place. As you're putting together your sports stuff, ESPN is in Bristol. ESPN has a huge commitment to queer folks in sports. Give them a call and have them send someone in to talk. You don't need to announce this person as, this is Wade Davis, and he's a big old mo, and he can run down the field with a ball. Have him come in. His bio says everything else, and that human being can speak. And he touches and grabs people where he needs to grab them. Let's see, Ty Diggs, I'm not a huge fan of his at all, but when you read any of those interviews that he had, because he was in Rent, and when he was in Rent, guess what? A whole bunch of his co-workers were a whole bunch of mo's. Sorry, I'm talking to my people. They're gay. So those are a bunch of his. But he also had to deal with, as a man growing up who was interested in doing musical theater, he had to deal with everyone respecting him as a gay man, disrespecting him as a gay man, as he really just wanted to date women and get laid. That's where he goes there. But in that world, we need to make sure that we've got representations of heterosexual folks, men who want to dance and be beautiful. So I brought up Rosie Greer over here, and we were talking about who our role models are. It's really easy. I have used many of those videos of Rosie Greer on the bar explaining, and then he's also got the wonderful video of It's All Right to Cry from It Free to Be You and Me. But finding those places to give young people different representations of who they can be and how they can be in a way that will flip their mind and flip their world is incredibly important. Now, I heard that there was some conversation on this side around parents, and I got really, really excited, and that's when I had to shut the conversation down because I knew I was going to just keep going there. We are peers. Does anyone ever heard about peer pressure? Yeah, it's this thing that happens for teenagers, right? Yeah. Yeah. Again, the youngest is 5. When he was born, I needed an upper baby stroller, okay? It became very apparent very, very quickly. If I did not have an upper baby, then I was not going to be as cool as every other mama, and I needed to have my petunia pickle bottom, diaper bag, because that was going to make me cool as well. So it's fun to blame our teenagers and say, look at them also coming to peer pressure. This is what we do. And I can tell you that as a parent, as a band mom, when it was time to come in, I know where people were buying their other kids their drumsticks, and I jumped into the conversations, and sometimes I was better than them, and sometimes I wasn't as good as them. And sometimes I just kind of sat up and listened. But as parents, we are spending all of our time trying to figure out who's a better parent. We might be bragging a whole lot, we might be sitting quietly and humbly, but we're listening, and we're listening to what other parents are saying. Our responsibility to queer youth who are not our own is to check other parents and to have conversations of acceptance in front of and with other parents. So again, knowing that your town, everyone has kids who are involved in sports, everyone's got kids who are involved in the arts, everyone's got kids who are involved in scouting. You have these not real friends who are your friends, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hang out with them, you sit, how do we... Yeah. You know them? Yeah, I got a crew of them. We all sit together. It's a great time. We've never been in each other's homes, but we know all of the surface stuff about each other's lives. And this is great because on a Saturday morning I need those people. And our biases, myths, and stereotypes, the stuff that gets in the way of us loving our children like we should, are there for all of us. They're inevitable. They exist the way that they're going to exist. I can tell you that this morning, my family's from the state of Connecticut. I had to have a meeting with a person who grew up in my family's church. I have a whole lot of ideas about this person just based on the church that she grew up in. She said something I didn't like. Boy, did I go to my hateful place really, really quick in my head. Boy, like, yes, because you go to Redeemers. That's how all y'all think. Whether it's true or not, it's inevitable. It lives just under the surface. I'm a beautiful, magnanimous person all the time until you get on my nerves. May be difficult or uncomfortable to explore. We know this. Whenever there's anything about yourself that you don't like, no one wants to delve into that. Often include ideas about relationships, sexual behaviors, work ethics, family structures, appearance, job skills, etc., and can have unintended consequences, especially when unexplored. Now, exploring these biases, myths, and stereotypes is a lot of work. But those seeds are what we have when we're at the games. Those seeds are what we are planting. So right now, back into that conversation again. We're going back. We're taking care of, let's call him Billy so he can have a name. So we're talking about Billy. We're all saying Billy's mom is pushing Billy. We all know Billy is gay. We see Billy. Billy is gay. We all know Billy's gay. We all listen to Billy's mom talk about Billy's dating Sarah. I hope they keep dating when they go off to college. It's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. We're all thinking whatever it is that we're thinking while that's happening. Conversation again. How are you going to support Billy's mom? Billy's mom has not admitted to anyone that her kid is queer. You know Billy's queer. You are spending every Saturday morning, you're spending 3 hours of your Saturday morning with Billy's mom at practice, rehearsal, or whatever it is that they do for sports. Conversation. How do we support Billy's mom? So I want to bring the conversation back. I want to bring the conversation back, and I heard some great stuff happening. Hopefully Billy's mom is being cared for. One thing, based on, so what I usually say at this point is, Billy's mom is in this room. Based on the room and based on what conversation is looking like right now, Billy's mom might not be here, but Billy's mom is almost always in the room. And so as we have these conversations, one of the things that we need to think about is, what does the language of inclusion sound like? So I'm sorry, what is your name? Richard. Richard said something to the effect of, there's a difference between just kind of putting it out there and doing outreach and pushing, right? Did I get that together pretty well? One of the things as we think about what these conversations are, we're planting seeds. You said plant seeds. You say this, it's not pushing, it's not getting into anyone's business, it's not horribly intrusive, but you've planted a seed that someone can go home and then think about. Stigma came up over here. The stigma associated with not being the perfect parent. No matter what it is that we want to say, I've got space for all, I will love all my children no matter what. However, my community is going to judge me if you are not who you're supposed to be. And woe be it, there's this one beautiful genderqueer kid who's a part of the leadership team at True Colors right now, and her mother is a homeschooling attachment parenting weirdo, and that is how she, look, you have no idea how we meet each other right here. But we've had many conversations in my office where she has to deal with family. And she has raised her children to be free from day one. She's allowed them to do whatever it is that they want to do with their hair. She's allowed them to wear what they want to wear. And she's got sister-in-laws and family who have been judging her forever. And now she's got a 15-year-old who is genderqueer and loudly says that they are genderqueer. And mom is going to support this kid. That's who this human being is. But it really gets tiring to have your sisters go, I told you so. Told you that was going to happen if you let that happen. I knew that was, of course, that's what you got. So we need to figure out how to add just the language of inclusion into our conversations. I heard some great stuff going on over here. What was happening over here?
I'm just saying, along the same lines was just making sure that like conversation going on around that person can kind of like plant those seeds or drop that or allow perhaps a comfort level. Like, someone's going to maybe say the right thing to say, oh, that person may think later on, that's a person that maybe I can talk with or connect with, whether intentional or unintentional, but just like I said, planting the seed and allowing them to take it away and think about it without saying, hey, we're directing this conversation at you.
You are a wrong and bad person. Let me tell you what you need to do to make it better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
And if Billy's mom is here, she came here.
Yes.
So sometimes it's about cracking the shell just a little bit. She may have a reason she came,
Give her space to step into it.
It's hard. And not always hard.
Yes, yeah. Hey, Billy's mom! It's awesome. He's great. Do it.
Billy's dating Sarah.
Sarah knows she's a beard. Look, this is Sarah's life, okay? Sarah's going to be doing this for the next 30 years. Hopefully she'll get a vacation or two out of it. And that's just a quick haha. But we're going to end with a coming out workshop, okay? So we're going to end with a cute little exercise that we do with many of our young people at True Colors, which is give mom space. And so the way that this starts is these are usually our young people who have been rejected, are being rejected. Mom doesn't want to see them. Many of the kids in my program are dealing with DCF. So they are dealing with actual real mom rejection. No, I will not go visit him. You can't make me go visit him. And so the first thing that we do is we come up with all of those issues that mom might have. So right now as a group, I have come out. I am 14 years old. My mother graduated high school in 1988. That's the last time she had any formal education whatsoever. She graduated high school in 1988. What are her fears? I've come out, I'm 15 years old, I've come out as a gay male. What are my mother's fears? Or what's going on in my mom? We won't even say, what's going on? What is she thinking?
I'm not going to get married.
I'm not going to get married.
No kids.
No kids? No grandbabies.
No grandbabies, right.
You owe that person grandbabies. You have no clue. She feels you owe her. Not it would be nice, but you owe her. Okay. So no marriage. She doesn't get to wear that really cool dress. She's not going to get grandbabies. So when she's at the pool with her friends, she's not going to be able to show off. She's going to have to do that whole thing with the dog. Yes, my grand dog. It's so cute.
There's a wedding. What are we going to do with the wedding?
No wedding.
AIDS.
Excuse me? AIDS. Thank you. Because that is something that our young people, when we think about what's going on with mom knows gay men get AIDS. Our children know that's not true. Our moms don't know that. You're going to get AIDS, you're going to die. What else?
It's a death sentence.
Death sentence, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
it is AIDS in the 1980s. When you are talking to a 40-year-old mother, she is seeing lesions, she is seeing wasting, she is not seeing anything that the rest of us know is HIV.
Yep.
Her son and her boyfriend are going to beat each other up, and the boyfriend's probably going to leave.
Yes, thank you. She's going to lose her significant other, and this is going to create strife. This human being's way of being, my child, is going to ruin my life. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Child's going to be promiscuous.
My kid is not going to share my values. My kid, because of this, right now, my kid is going to go out and share their body with a whole lot of other people, and this is going to hurt them in many ways. Mm-hmm.
Worry about them being bullied, yeah.
So, is it possible that when a child comes out and mom beats the heck out of them, please jump into my world for a second, it's because she loves them and she's scared to death? Is that possible? Sure. Can this happen? Yes. Okay, great. She's scared to death.
What about if her faith tells her that this is a big no-no?
She comes from a faith tradition that says this is not okay. She comes from a faith tradition. Right now I'm hearing a whole lot that these gay kids prove the end times. So again, there's a lot that's changing. But the queer babies prove that Armageddon is coming, or that Revelations is coming. So my faith says it's not okay. You prove the end times are coming. My faith says it's not okay. You're going to hell. My faith says it's not okay. I want to spend my time in the afterworld with you, and I want you in heaven with me. But my faith tradition says there's no space.
You're not going to be welcome in the pew in your community. You're going to be shunned by your faith community when they hear this information.
You can't be a part of this important community that we belong to anymore.
Right.
You're changing our family. Mm-hmm. We as a family now need to adjust in some way, and I don't want to adjust. So the first thing that we do in this workshop is we go through all of this. And then once we have all of those on pieces of paper, we take time to go figure out how to research to have answers, to have actual answers for mom. Oh no, mom, let me tell you about these skin graft babies or bone marrow babies. Let me tell you, don't worry, you can have a grandchild that looks just like me. Don't worry, it can happen.
So the faith comes back and says, you're going to clone a baby.
No, just a little bit of this, a little bit of this. Happens to be awesome. But we've got answers for all of this. We can answer mom's fears, and then we can take mom out of this place of crazy, awful, horrible monster and make her a vulnerable human being who we can love again and create space for. We then go into the fun place of 48 hours, which is from the time that you come out and tell your mother, Mommy, I'm queer, you've got to give that person 48 hours to lose her damn mind. 48 hours to call her ex-husband, who is your father, and say, this is all your fault, let me tell you what you did. Time to sit on the computer and research every conversion camp in Kansas ever. Time to call your grandmother and say, I can't have this in my house, you need to come make this go away. Time to have her show up in your doorway and say, this is going to be okay. There's a group called PFLAG. We're going to a meeting right now. Read this. We've got this. Come on. And we laugh, and we give mom all kinds of space, and we spend time dwelling in what that is. And then we figure out how to step back into a relationship with mom. and how to have a new relationship. Because guess what? This thing has happened. A change has happened. One of the main things, and I love to pull in myself as an older, or as a mom, figuring out that your child is a sexual being is never fun, ever, period. Period. At all. Doesn't matter if they're sharing their body with anyone, just knowing that they've got this idea that I've got this body and there are these things that it can do. Let me tell you about it, Mom, it's so cool. Scary. Uncomfortable. And that's one of those first places where our relationship with our child changes. That's one of those first places where our relationship with our parent changes. And we're beginning that beautiful, that is, and as parents, it's that place of, oh shoot, this is the dance. I'm moving the dance towards my child not being my baby who I need to take care of. I'm moving to the place of my child being an adult. I'm moving to the place of, what the fuck am I going to do with my time now? What am I going to, how am I going to fill my time? So then the next place that we go is we start thinking about what our relationship with our parent is going to look like. You're not a grown-up yet. You're really not a grown-up. You're 16, you're 15, you're 17. So the truth is you still maybe live with that person. That person's rules have to take precedence. You've got to work with that person. But what does it look like now? So I'm going to ask all of you to continue your conversations, but think about what those changing relationships look like and why that's important. Again, we talked about privilege. And we talked about those places where for some of us it appears as if we have privilege, but if we've got to think about it a little bit more, we're a bit more privileged. This happens for all of us. Every parent at some point is going to realize that their child has a sexuality, period. If your child's heterosexual, you're at a deficit. Truthfully, you're at a deficit. Because as you navigate what that next part of your relationship is, there's not really a, this is where we are. If you have the privilege of having a child come out to you and say, hey, you know everything that you knew about me? It's a little bit skewed. It's a little bit off to the side. It's a little bit different. I'm still your kid, but there's a few extra pieces right now. How do we navigate that? How do we look at that? And how do we honor that as the true privilege that it is? Thank you so much. Any questions before we call it a night? Anything else? Thank you. Go home and think. Yes?
I have one question.
Yes.
You said you were Puerto Rican?
Nope.
Oh.
No,
okay.
I just know some of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, only because my grandson came out at Christmas to tell us. And my son is married to a Puerto Rican woman in New York. And her family is that super macho type thing.
Yeah.
Where they don't, that's not acceptable. And I think that's influencing my son a lot as to telling her family about his son.
Great. I do have information to give you. I feel really good. Some of the information is from the Family Acceptance Project. Caitlin Ryan, that's out of the University of San Francisco. She's done a ridiculous amount of work with Hispanic families. Now, truthfully, the families that she's worked with are more Mexican. And not Puerto Rican, but you've got a lot of the same machismo stuff in the culture. And if you would, I will give you the information. If you go, and just go University of San Francisco, the FamilyAcceptanceProject.org. I think there are bits and pieces, and I think it's Daddy Miguel. And there's a video, and it is, again, so talking about the most important protective factors, families being accepting. Families, the majority of families over time become accepting. The family that's completely rejecting on day one, by the end of year 3, has usually figured out how to incorporate and love their child. And I share that because in this video, you see a Mexican father who clearly is so macho that he's not going to have space for his queer son. And then you watch a dance, and you watch a dance that is personal to this family, that couldn't be recreated in any other family. But you watch this family, this father and this son, navigate what it means to love each other. And you find a father who can celebrate his son, who is nowhere near as macho as he is. And for Latino families, that one's really, really important. Thank you for bringing that up, because the intersectionality of it is ridiculously important. In our country, we have, so I can tell you, Latinos are fiery. They are, we've got all these wonderful ways that we throw extra sexuality on Latinos. And then they've got to navigate, and your grandson has to navigate who he is as a queer man within a structure that has added this extra piece of sexuality that he doesn't need to wade through. This is what we've got to deal with. It's awesome that he's got you as a grandmama in here tonight having this conversation. Continue having the conversations. I can say this is strange. So I love pop culture because of how it helps me do my job. When I first started doing my job, I was one of those cool people. I don't watch TV. I watch TV every so often. Shameless is up here right now. We were going to watch that. RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul says a whole bunch of problematic stuff. If you want to support your queer babies, watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Spend some time with Bob the Drag Queen and listen to them. There's what is the show? There's the regular show, but then online, is it the T? The T, Shoot the T, whatever it is. Well, go you, okay.
Since season 1.
Now that's when they go out afterwards and sit around and talk?
It's literally in the back room while they're being judged, but it's all of the contestants like throwing shade at each other or encouraging each other, and no drag queen. There's no person stronger in the show than the fellow drag queens.
Yes. Watch that. Watch that with your babies. And when it comes to any of those interesting special race things, RuPaul's Drag Race brings up all the conversations. And honestly, those queens who use all of the wrong language and make me cringe work through it so much better than so many of the others. But find the pop culture stuff and enjoy it.
Can I just add something that I found really helpful when listening to other people speak, and it's something that stuck with me, is remembering that the coming out process for the person is not the only coming. It's not like this happens once. Okay, you're shaking your head.
Yeah.
This is a coming out process over and over and over again with every new set of people that they meet who aren't necessarily in their first initial circle of family or friends or this, employers eventually, or community or sports, whatever. It's over and over. Do I trust these people enough to come out to them as well? And a really important point is it's a coming out for the family.
Yes.
Okay, when you just told your mother has to come out to her friends and family. So it's a coming out process, and then another coming out process as it's generational. So it's not just, hey, I came out all good. Like, that is going to happen multiple times over and in multiple layers, and that's just something to just realize that can continue stress for people in coming out, is trying to judge, is this safe? Is this situation as safe as the last one for me to come out into? And so that stress can stay with that person for much longer than you might think.
And hold on to it is a family process. It truly is a family process. Everyone's got to figure out how to come out in whatever way that is. Yeah, and we do work with parents who say, we're completely fine with it, we're completely fine with it, but you haven't told anyone. What's no one's business? Yeah, so figuring out how to do all of that.
Do you ever recommend to people who, Simsbury loves their therapists, and we're not very shy about going to the family therapist. We had Mark here before. We all love him. He talks a lot about family issues. Rather than, take Billy's mom and say, okay, watching RuPaul's going to be a little too much for her. Go see Mark and have a conversation with a professional. Does that help? Does it not help?
There are times when it really, really helps. There's times when it's really important. But then there's also a place where I can tell you that whenever a mom comes to me as True Colors, as official True Colors, and says, my child is gay, what do I do? I'm not going to meet her there. That's the wrong place for me to meet her. I go, that is awesome! You have no clue what gift your family has. Welcome, come play with us. And then I go from there. Because there needs to be that flip. That's incredibly important. Now, please understand, I believe in therapy as much as the next person, and send folks all the time, and have a wonderful list of therapists in my back pocket who, again, you've got a kid who's half white, half Puerto Rican, living in New York, parents aren't, I know the right person for that family. So it's really important, and also important to have the right therapists for families. And I can tell you that there's a whole bunch of therapists who would like to believe that they have trans expertise, but they don't. But it sounds really good, and it can get you a whole lot more families. So therapy is incredibly important. It's very important very often for families, as families decide that it's time to go through the coming out process together, for a family to navigate that with a therapist. But again, the way we used to do it is, I came out as gay, what do? I need a therapist. If you come from a family where you do therapy for everything, then great, that works it works into the culture of your family. But outside of that, my kid is gay. What do I still get those from guidance counselors at school. I was wondering if you had a list of therapists. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about what's going on with this young person? Well, they just came out and, okay, so are they struggling with, well, they came out and we want them to have support. We have drag night on the second Friday, no, we have movie night on the second Friday of the night, we got drag night on the third, we've got to come play with us. Your kid doesn't need therapy. Your kid needs a peer group. We've got a peer group. So therapy is incredibly important, but I go out of my way to push that to the side, especially when there's a parent who looks really, really concerned, because I need to know this is a gift to your family. Your family, you're going to grow from this. In 10 years, you guys you'll be a little bit tighter, and you're going to have a new world. You've got some more parades to go to that you've never gone to before. But you've got, and so that is, so as I do.
Buttons, all kinds
Look,
of
I've got beads for everything, okay? We've got awesome stuff. But really just coming up with this. So who are we? We're a different culture. We're a new place. So Christmas comes up. I live in Hartford. I've got a whole multicultural world. I have all different kinds of food happening on my table. And then I got my queer world. So luckily, I've got a family, because I'm queer, we believe in extended family. I have got about 8 sons who need to come to my house and spend some time with me during that Christmas week, because I am their mama, because guess what? We're queer. And we're not just related to people who we share blood with. So when you come out, Mom, you've got a whole new world. Let me tell you who your co-mamas are. Nice to see you. Welcome to the family. Let's play.
I have 2 more things that I'd like to say. Number one, you can see that you are standing in your power. And you've had to do that because of being queer. I understand that. And I think one of the best things that we can do is to begin to find our power. And I think it comes from coming out. It comes from parents having to come out with the child. And when we put that light out into the world, light will always kill darkness. So sometimes it's just about putting light out, and you've done that tonight. You've not been afraid to say anything. You've been willing to share your story in a way that whether we liked it or not, and I think that's critical. And I think it's critical for teachers. I think it's critical for ministers, to put the light out in the world. So I think that's one. The second thing, the first time I went to True Colors, and it's 2 days. It's a Friday and a Saturday. It's on the store's campus. And Friday was about 2,000 LGBTQ kids, their parents, their teachers. I have never seen anything like it. It was incredible. And like 100 or 120 different workshops.
They come from Maine, New Hampshire,
they come from
Vermont,
everywhere.
New
There
York,
were celebrities
everywhere.
there. It was absolutely
magic.
Unbelievable.
I volunteer there for the last 3 years now through the Hartford Health Gay and Lesbian Health Collective. And I wouldn't miss it for anything. It's incredible to see the kids come and just like play your games and just be funny. And they're like, God, condom wallets? Oh my God, can we have 5 of those? And they
give me the lube too. Yeah.
Right, and the lube too. Right, exactly. So it's but it's just like they don't have to worry about any of the stigma or anything that's attached.
Well, it's like they're suddenly in their own community.
Exactly, and it's beautiful.
I would urge you to go 1 year. It's a little expensive. It's what, $80, I think.
$80. The truth is, we scholarship as and honestly, if there's a parent who needs to be there, call me. We will. I mean, we talk about scholarships. We talk about whatever. If there's ever a parent who has to be at the conference, they will be there.
Well, especially for this committee. I mean, to be able to go and bring back. Because there's all kinds of
great workshops.
Well, and workshops, about names of people that can help, and it's really.
March 18th or 17th and 18th. I've got flyers over here. Is it the 16th and 17th? And yeah, we're going to get to you because I was going to ask you to give me an arc of the conference. As Roseanne has been, we're going into our 25th year. You've been volunteering for 25 years now? Yep, there you go. Roseanne has been here for the entire conference. This year, talking about the political climate that we're in, we have had 3 meetings with the UConn, with the state police on the campus of UConn. We are going to do everything in our power to keep the kids from knowing how scared we are and how many plans we have in place to keep people safe. But the world that we're in right now, there's a reality that the campus might not be as safe as it has been. So we are looking at, hopefully, we don't want to limit the number of workshops that we have, but were you at one of those safety meetings? We don't want to limit the number of workshops, but we don't want our kids roaming all over the campus. The truth is we are moving into a world that has all of us really upset and that no one wants to go back to this. We've loved being able to just run around, be here, queer and free. We are putting the things in place to keep your children safe because we know what we're walking in on. But can you give us an idea of what the conference looked like 25 years ago and how you've seen it grow and change and how you've seen the young people express themselves in different ways?
25 years ago, hi, I'm Roseanne Rowe. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the conference. 25 years ago, the conference was at University of Hartford's campus. They graciously donated it to us while they had their break. It was mostly professionals. We did have some strictly high school kids come on a Friday. I'm going to say the first couple of conferences, it started with 35, 40 kids. And
Less than 50.
Yeah, it was less than 50. And we tried to keep everything in one room. We rotated in the people that were presenting, whatever it was that they were presenting at the time. We were extremely particular about what was presented. We filtered it to be milk and honey and nothing else, basically. Now, we try to be as diverse as possible with the conference. When there was 2,000, last year there was 3,000.
Yeah, I was
400.
Okay,
I know.
34.
It's packed.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 4.
Jorgensen's
It was like
packed.
3, 8. Yeah. And there's overspills, not just
Yeah.
Jorgensen. We filled the mini theater
Yeah.
last year.
I was going to say there were
filled-
classes that filled up in a
Right.
smack. It was
Yeah.
there, like when the door opened from the last
So
class.
You're not getting
it's-
it.
And it's not just high school kids. In the last 6 years, we started with middle school kids as well. And they want diversity when they come. It's their gay Disney. That's what we call it.
It truly is,
It
yeah.
is for them, and they can come and be themselves, and you can't even begin to describe the joy of knowing that you're in a safe community. You can completely be yourself and be loved and cherished and respected. And a lot of kids will come and literally go into the bathroom the minute they get there and change into some outfit or costume even and walk around, and other kids will run up and embrace them. The biggest thing is the hug me signs, free hugs. That's huge. They love to hug each other, and it's their sexuality and their gender is completely different from
Acceptance
the
and
love.
love.
And acceptance, yes. And that's what we are all about, the love and acceptance.
And for the first time, they don't have to worry about what other people think or what they're going to say. Or,
It's, yeah, and it's
everyone there is accepting.
And the best part is that thousands of kids, you don't know who's straight, queer, and it doesn't matter.
You're right.
It doesn't matter because every single one of those thousands of kids loves the other 1,000.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. There's just no description for it.
No, there isn't. We've made videos. We've tried to. We haven't figured out. There's nothing captures it.
Along 3 years ago, like just to, like him, like I can't believe how long that you've been at. That's great.
It's amazing. So again, I'll encourage all of you to get there. Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, don't come on Friday. Let the kids have Friday. We have a bunch of workshops on Saturday, and a lot of those Saturday workshops are geared towards parents and siblings. So Friday, allow the weirdo freaks to fly their flag and do what they need to be, and it's wonderful. Come on Saturday for yourself and come as a family. And again, how do we support our kids? Guess what? Your kid is queer now? I got a whole new conference for you to come to. It's a whole lot of fun. Come play with us in March at UConn. But Saturday, again, because it's a coming out process for the entire family, our kids are welcome Friday and Saturday. Parents, don't yuck their yum. Don't come rain on their parade. Don't be a mom taking pictures of them in their beautiful costume. They don't want you there. please come on Saturday.
But do you know too that Saturday is not 4,000? I mean,
No, yeah, Saturday is closer to about 1,000, yeah.
Yeah. So if you show up, you're going to be. You say, well, they said there were 4,000 people.
No. And it's really nice. One of the things I do, again, I'm a nosy person. I love to eavesdrop. And there's some places in the student union where parents find each other. And again, if you are the parent of the only 9-year-old trans kid in your town, when you find yourself sitting next to the other parent of the only 9-year-old trans kid in her town, that's where magic happens for parents. So it is just as powerful and impactful for the families that you work with as for your students. So thank you all so much. Have a great night. Thank you.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.